You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the June 29th, 2022 meeting of the Michigan City Common Council Quiet Zones Workshop. You can find information concerning this workshop by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good afternoon and welcome. Today, a council workshop has been called by Councilwoman Tillman and Councilman Dabney for today, June 29, 2022. And the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the proposed quiet zone crossings from School Street to Carroll Ave. We currently have in attendance Councilman Don Przybylski and Councilman Gene Simmons. We also have the City Planner Director, Skylar York, and Brad Minnick for the City Engineer. And the presentation will be discussed and presented by Mr. Minnick. Yes.
Good afternoon. As Councilwoman Tillman noted, we're here to talk about the NICD double track quiet zone proposal, specifically from Michigan Boulevard east towards Carroll Avenue Station, and the impacts that would have in that area of Michigan City. And answer any questions that may come up. I think, unfortunately, there's been some misinformation out there about crossing closings. And I want to lead with that and say that there aren't going to be any railroad crossing closings under this proposed plan. So all the access present day, and that would be School Street, Grace Street, Woodland Avenue, and Pleasant Avenue and Carroll Avenue will all remain in their present configuration with a existing railroad crossing. What we're here to talk about specifically today is the Grace Street, the most cost-effective, least invasive way to meet the quiet zone requirements. So if you could share that slide, Drew. Okay, so for those online, what you're looking at is the Gray Street crossing, and to give you orientation, there's a church in the upper right-hand corner of the drawing, and then Holiday Street runs parallel with the tracks in that location. And the hatched area is Holiday Street between Schofield Court and Gray Street, approximately 150 feet in length. And the proposal would be to install the concrete median on the north and south side of the tracks, and that would limit access for vehicles to effectively jump the gates when they're down. And in order to meet quiet zone requirements, we also restrict access for cross traffic because Holiday Street's in such close proximity to Gray Street. It would potentially give vehicles traveling on Holiday Street the opportunity to head north and weave in between the crossing. So because of the short distance, it would have to be closed. I'd like to open it up to any questions that people have. It's going to be a substantial centerline median, similar to what's on Michigan Boulevard, approximately 7 or 8 inches in height. And it's going to be a formidable barrier for traffic, something you couldn't drive across to jump the gates to make it a much safer crossing.
Do anyone from the council have any questions or concerns in regards to the presentation that is before you regarding Grace Street and Holiday Street and the proximity of the area that would be closed off on Holiday Street?
Yeah, Councilwoman Tillman. Mr. Minnick, I just have a question, and I see it's about these medians. Yeah. So they're going to be 2 feet wide, 6 inches tall, about that tall, about that wide. Are those used elsewhere as a construction standard when it comes to these quiet zones, gatings, when the that are built throughout the railroad industry?
That's correct. That's the industry standard, and you'll see those.
Pardon?
That's correct. That's an industry standard, and you'll see those throughout from Sheridan Avenue to Michigan Boulevard for the gated crossings.
Okay.
So on occasion, if the street's narrower, say 20-foot street, you might narrow the concrete median up a foot, but I think a foot is the minimum allowable by the railroad to make it a formidable width. But
Okay,
the standard is 2
so,
foot.
so then another question. When those 2 gates, is that just one gate that'll come down and cover the whole 2 lanes,
No.
both from the north and the south?
I apologize
Or is there 2 gates on each side?
if you look closely at the drawing, the left-hand side of it'll say existing gate, and then lower right above the word Holiday Street, it says existing gate.
Yeah,
So those gates will activate,
yeah.
and they're there present day.
I mean, they're there right now?
The gates are there right now. And,
Okay.
and
Do they cover both?
no, they just
Do
cover
they cover both
the single
lanes?
They just cover the single northbound or southbound traffic for that lane present day.
Okay. I have a concern with that. Because even though this thing is 102 feet long, this median,
Mhm.
I know that median's there so nobody will go to the other side. That's what it's supposed to be used for, right?
That's
The
correct.
purpose of it.
Mhm.
I still think, and this is one of my concerns with this whole quiet zone process, is that even though this thing here is 102 feet long, who's to say that somebody in that neighborhood that is used to the time of the train and the whole scenario of a train coming through there, that they'll go, hey, I'm okay. I'm going to go on the other side of this median and I'm just going to fire through there and I'll get around both gates. I don't have anything to worry about. I just think that I thought we were going to have gates on both sides of the, both on the south side, both on the north side, that there'd be 2 gates coming down. So no vehicles, so no vehicles were going to get through there whatsoever. Because the only time that the train is going to blow that whistle is if there's imminent danger, right? According to NICD, that's what I heard.
That's my understanding.
They won't be blowing their whistle, 200, whatever the standard is, 200 feet down the tracks before they come to a crossing. Now, if this engineer by chance does see this car coming, he's going to blow his whistle, then he's going to slam on his brakes, and hopefully he won't hit the car. I don't, if this is railroad standards, I don't think it's safe enough for us to be investing $1 million into this. And not only is it going to be affecting this street, but we're affecting all the streets going through town. And by the time, per Nick D's word, by the time that train hits Tennessee Street, going westbound, that train's going to be going 40 miles an hour, if not 45 miles an hour. And that's when Mike Nolan told us when we were having our hearings, because that was my concern, the speed of this train leaving Michigan City, going through those neighborhoods on unprotected tracks. And by the time this train hits behind the homes the homes that used to be there, further down on 10th Street, that train's going to be going 60 miles an hour. I don't like the configuration and what the plans are for this. So just my concern. Now, the railroad may already have it in stone, but I think I'm going to bring it up at the council meeting that this wasn't my conceptual idea of a quiet zone without having both tracks protected all the way through. Okay, thank you, Brad.
Mr. Minix, could you elaborate on that further? Because to my understanding, if it is just the one rail guard, but that one rail guard goes all the way across north and south, correct? To the point with the medians being in place. I mean, even if there was something even more secure, we can't control, unfortunately, what someone may sit back and say, I'm going to try to beat this train. Even if we put up additional measurements to secure that, of going down, as you mentioned, Mr. Prisbalinski, of going down the other side in order to beat the train, unfortunately, there may be an individual that may choose to do that, but to what degree are we going to be able to secure that to make sure that they don't? That's the purpose of putting that median there. So if that median is there, and if a train is coming, to my understanding, that rail guard will be officially all the way across to where they're not going to be able to go across the tracks. And if they did try to go across that track, they're going to hit the rail guards, and they're probably going to wind up on that median.
No, what you can see here, Councilwoman, right here on the configuration where the arm comes down, as Mr. Minnick said, that it's not gonna go across the other lane.
But it's going to meet that. The rail guard is going to meet and exceed past the median, right? Or not?
It stops at the median. It
It stops
drops at the median and keeps you from being able to go around.
It's gonna stop at the median,
Yeah.
right, Skylar?
Correct.
All right.
But here's you could already, so without that median to this median, sorry, not median, at this point in time, you could still go around. This actually is an improvement to trying to go around, because today there isn't any median there. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. Presently,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is a much more improved deterrent, if you will. What people, I guess, choose to do. And you're talking about 100 foot of, it's a lot more intimidating to go around a median and be trapped in that coming the wrong way than it is to try to sneak through a train crossing.
I know, but my point is that today, presently, when the train's coming up to that crossing, that train is blowing its whistle, both from the east way and in the west side. Now, once this goes into play, they're not going to be blowing their whistle.
Unless someone's sneaking
Right.
across.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's correct.
If they see it, if the engineer sees it.
Which is what we currently deal with right now without having the median in place.
Yeah.
They'll blow an emergency
Correct.
horn at that time.
And they blow either way.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, they blow their
So
horn all
that part
always.
will not change, and that's something that's currently already in place. So,
And also I'd add that by cutting off Holiday Street, you're eliminating a point of access there, right? If I'm gonna dodge the gates, I'm most likely to do it from Holiday Street heading north, right?
correct.
And with that access going away, that's also an improvement. And the standard for quiet zone, the quiet zone improvements had to lower the risk factor at or below that of a whistled train, if you will. So we're beating that standard. If we were not able to beat that standard, we would not be able to engineer a quiet zone in effect. And that's what the concrete, that's what the concrete median does for us.
I'd like to open it up. Anyone from the public have any comments? Is there anyone that is on live? No comments from the public? Mr. Minnick, is there any additional, your next slide? Was there anything else that you had to present?
That's all I had.
Do anyone else from the council have any other questions or concerns in regards to the presentation before them?
And you say these safeguards are in place at other crossings?
I'm so sorry.
And you said that these safeguards are in place in other crossings?
Yes. You were correct. There's each crossing will get either has a treatment or we'll get a new treatment. So yeah, we can go through those real quick, just for everyone, for your knowledge.
Yeah, he didn't have this one, so I gave him mine. Thank you.
So I'm not addressing anybody online. There's nobody online. Okay. So
But that's only going, you're looking at School Street.
no, what is?
So Gene, so those are actually easier to handle. I mean, I know some people have feelings about the one ways, but those are actually a little bit easier to handle because you only got one way of traffic. So you can see those in here as well. Pleasant and Woodland. So those don't change. Those just stay as is. They already meet the standard. Then if you go to Carroll, jump in as needed. If you go to Carroll, the same treatment of the median would be installed there as well. That's your last page. Mm-hmm. And then we'll pop back to School Street. We'll talk a little bit more about that one. So keep in mind the gate, we'd probably get some new gates. The gates, some of them may not be long enough, so they'd have to extend them. When I say gate, just the arm. That we talked about that out there. And then I'll let Brad jump in on School Street and talk a little bit about that one. This was one that we walked all these, by the way. We went out one day and with a group and engineers, surveyors, Brad, me, and walked every single one of these with FTA Railroad Authority was here, and they were grading them as we're, kind of not grading them, but I guess maybe ranking them, rating them, and what improvements would need to be made. And then that was based, and then Tim and Brad have worked together on this plan or this proposal based upon those ratings from the FTA Railroad. And it's saying you need, consider these things. It needs to meet this standard to get this rating to be considered for quiet zone. So it's where all this kind of comes from. So let's flip back to School Street real quick. That's the first two drawings.
Okay, so there are two options available at School Street. 4 quad gates, 2 existing and 2 proposed new would be one option. The other option, page 2, is also at School Street, and that would be similar to the configuration we're talking about at Grace Street. That would be the existing gates and a concrete median north and south of the tracks. There's not a need to close Combe Street, the south of the tracks. So that was not considered. We want to maintain as much connectivity as we can. And then the third page similarly has 4 quad gate option. And that would be 2 existing gates. Again, we're back at Grace Street. 2 existing gates supplemented by 2 additional gates for exiting traffic. They're known in the railroad industry as entrance gates and exit gates. So like the quad gate system. And then the next page is what we had been discussing earlier, Grace Street with Holiday Street closing 1 segment. And then Woodland is the next, and that's existing condition are 2 gates there currently 2 existing gates for the one-way street. That's why they have the double gate, because it is a one-way condition on Woodland. If you turn the page, as you know, Pleasant Avenue, same configuration, the one-way going the other way. And then Skylar already discussed the last page, Carroll Ave. And as we said, these are similar to the treatments from Sheridan Ave through Michigan Boulevard.
Yeah, Brad, I have a question. So the prints that we have that just have a single gate on each side with the median coming down the middle, can those gates, I see it extends over into the oncoming lane of traffic. The gate itself, the gate arm. Okay, how far does that extend over into that lane of traffic? Halfway or?
I think it has to meet the median.
Pardon?
I think it has to drop on the median, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Is that what you?
How far it comes over? If you got northbound and southbound lanes. Okay, you got the gate coming down on the northbound lane. But it shows here in these pictures, I don't know if that's
just the measurements of how far will the cars have to come to the median for that arm drop.
okay, so this is where the gate ends. Okay, so this is all wide open.
That's just showing.
Oh, from there to there. Oh, thank you. Okay, can we get those arms any longer? That would be able to come down? And cut that lane off altogether? I mean, we show it on If there's two on the north side, two on the south side,
Those are on the one-way streets.
So the one way or
Which sheet are you looking at?
that's what you
Particular.
got working.
Yeah, those are already there. Those are already installed.
Right.
okay. So why can't we just put those in instead of putting these medians in?
So you're talking about putting in quad gates at that point in time. Those are going to be, there's additional costs with those other than medians that will probably be over the cost of what you guys have allocated.
But you're saying it's cheaper to put the median in than it is to put in another cross buck?
Much.
How much more?
It's for Grace Street, for example, is $327,000 for a quad gate system and almost $47,000 for the median. So that's a factor of six and a half times more expensive to do the quad gates than the concrete median.
Okay,
There's also another upgrade that would have to be made there. Is that factored into it, or housing or houses? Sorry, I know we're getting in the weeds a little bit, but
This is the preliminary estimate.
okay.
So it could grow from there
Yeah.
in terms of the quad gates because of the mechanics that have to go with it.
Yeah.
can we get longer gates?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. There are standards for that, and I don't have those answers. You mean to extend into the oncoming traffic, or what would be your intent?
It drops here, that gate comes out over that. Like, did it drop halfway?
Yeah, halfway or 3/4.
So what we ran into on our field check a few weeks ago were the potential for aerial conflicts. Vale Street, there's a lot of overhead wires. So the length of the gate arm has a potential to fall, I guess is the term they use in the railroad industry, but fall the aerial lines overhead. So the longer you have the arm, the more aerial clearance you have.
Yeah, right.
So
You guys check that out?
Sure.
See if that's a feasible option. All I'm looking at, maybe being too protective, but I just want some kind of safeguard. I know if a car's coming through there, they're gonna blow through any kind of gate you got up anyway. But just for one last warning to somebody that, hey, there is a train coming, you may not hear the whistle, but right in front of you, the lights are blinking. So, and I know they can see it from this side probably anyway, if they're coming down if they go around that median and try to beat the train, but. And even some kids, say kids on bikes, I don't know if kids on bikes would, try to beat the train. I know it hasn't happened yet, but
Never say never.
I'm trying to be on the safe side. So in case something happens,
Or a motorcycle.
that I can sleep easy at night.
Is that something that can possibly be shared at the next presentation at the council meeting? Would you be able to
the
obtain
max-
that
the
information?
maximum length of the gate?
That if it's doable, if it's feasible to do that as well?
Yeah, there's industry standards, right? So
Yeah,
we can explore the maximum length of the gate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And your overhead clearances and everything else you were talking about, Brad.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Keep in mind too, these gates will be the industry standard. lights, bell, they'll still be, they're not going to be anything different than what you already see out there. They're just additional gates. They're still going to have flashing lights and all those things. So just so everybody's aware.
Yeah, actually, they wouldn't be additional gates. It's going to be present day condition with concrete median improvements.
So I just have one question. And if that was feasible to extend the guardrails, would that have anything to do with the housing? No?
No,
Okay,
it's just a balancing act, right?
Okay.
You can't get too far because the gate will snap.
okay, I understand.
That's a counterbalance.
And if no one else, if the council has no other additional questions or concerns, oh, yes, sir.
I would just add that this is on the agenda to close that street segment on Holiday Street for Tuesday morning, waterworks.
Okay. Was there anything else, Councilman?
Okay, I thought I heard you say.
Thank you for time today.
But I'll just acknowledge, Mayor, did you have any comments? No, okay. Okay. Thank you. There's no further ado. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you and have a good afternoon.
you.